So in this session, we're going to learn about the transaction SUM. Now, from time to time, the users, as a security administrator, you may be required to pull out uh, the user-related information or role-related information, anything to do with security related information, and submit a report to your manager or to some other manager or to auditors. So using the transaction SUIM, which SAP provides, uh, you can, depending on the need or the requirement of the report, you can pull out the data out of the SAP system and submit the report. Okay. Now SUIM is one transaction code to start with. It's basically a reporting tree. Okay, but each node has got its own bunch of reports. Okay, now you have the options for pulling out information about users. You have the options for pulling out the information about roles, about authorizations, profiles, transactions. Then you can do comparisons between users, and you can do comparisons between two roles, and change documents. Change documents meaning you can pull out the history of a particular user ID or history of a particular role or a profile. Okay? When I say history of a user ID, what it means is everything about a user ID from the day it was created. From that point on, whatever has happened on that user ID, like unlocking the user IDs, locking the user IDs, unlocking user ID, or resetting the password, assigning roles, any pieces of any information, any activity that may have been performed on a role or a user over a period of time, you could find that out using the options within the change documents option. Okay. Now,
what is the difference between the user and the change on sales? Is the same?
No, it's not the same. User node information will give you the current information.
Okay. This is like a history.
What a user contains right now. Okay. But change document is the entire history of the user. See, the system may have been live for, let's say, last 10 years. Okay, last 4 years or 5 years. The user may have been created 4 years back. Now, if you want to find out what has happened to that user ID during the last 2 years, you can find that out. Within the 2 years, user may have got logged so many times. Somebody must have unlocked it. He may have forgotten his password so many times, and somebody must have reset the password. His authorizations may have changed, multiple times during the last 2 years. So all those pieces of information you can find out using the for users option in the change documents. Okay. So we'll see that. Let's go to user node. Let's take the options one by one and see what kind of information can you find out of the user from the user node. Now, within the user node, the options that you have, those options will give you information about the user. When you say what kind of information, let's say, for example, when you do by user ID, and if I give a user ID there, click on continue, it gives me my user ID, my complete name. If I am assigned to a user group, it will give me the group name too. So it's a personal information. Now when I select the user ID and click on this tab, it is going to tell me what roles have been assigned to me, to this ID Subha. Okay? and when was it assigned and till what period it is valid. Okay. Similarly, if I select the user ID and click on profiles, it will tell me what all profiles have been assigned to my user ID or whatever user ID you selected.
Okay.
So this is all personal information, okay? This is user specific. So that is what that happens when you click on by user ID. Now these pieces of information you can find out from tables also.
Yeah.
But using tables, user ID you will have to find out. If I say this one, I can find out what roles are assigned to a particular user ID using the table agr underscore users. But user underscore users does not give me my complete name. So that you will have to find out from user underscore ADDR. So you have to download the data from agr underscore users. You have to download the data from user underscore ADDR and then combine into one to complete your report. But whereas SUIM, this option automatically does everything for you. So if you click on rows here, for example, it gives you your name, using your user ID, your name, and the roles that are assigned to you, and the validity periods of the role. Okay. Now this one does not give you the user group, for example. You're understanding the various combinations of reports that you can generate and where this is lacking. So for example, this report does not give me the user group. Understood? So, but this option gives me that user group. But this option, this screen, does not show me the roles that are assigned. You follow?
Yes.
So you may have to use multiple, SUM can be used, but if you feel that SUM is not giving you the kind of information you're looking for in the report, then it is better you go and find out from get the data, extract the data from various tables and combine them into one report in Excel. Okay? Now similarly, if instead of giving the username, if I want to find out users belonging to a particular group, I can give the group name here and execute. It will give me that user ID list. Here it has got on the super group only has one user ID in it. And from here point on, you can go to roles and see, and click on roles. It will tell you what roles are assigned to this user ID, not the group. This user ID. Okay, and then it also tells you whether the user ID has been locked or unlocked. If you see this icon here, lock icon, that means it's locked. If the ID is not locked, this will be blank. But you can also see the validity dates here. So you can find out so many information out of this. See, this information you can find out from the table USR02 also. Right? Okay, now let's take the other option. We'll come to this. Okay? By user ID you understood? Huh? By role. Now if I give a role name here, it will tell me to what all user IDs that role is assigned to. So let's pick up a role. So let's take this role for example, okay? And click on execute. So it's not assigned to any role, any user ID. So it doesn't show up anything. Okay. So let's take some other role and find out. So it's assigned to that role. Which one? This role, Z colon EXP TRFC code, is assigned to 10 user IDs. So if you know the role name, you can find this information from AGR underscore users also, from the table AGR underscore users. But again, that table does not give you the name of the user. So again, you'll have to find the name of the user from user underscore ADDR. Understood? So if you select the user ID now, from here for example, and click on roles, it will, okay, when the click on roles, it will tell you what all roles are assigned to each user. It's not only one particular role, you can get everything. Okay, whatever is assigned to the user IDs. Those 10 user IDs, for example, in this example, and the validity dates also, and the description of the role. Followed? So let's go back and look on profiles. So if you enter a profile name, if you know the profile name, enter the profile name, it will list you the user IDs
assigned to that profile.
Assigned to that profile, basically the role. Okay. The authorizations. You give an object, it will tell you which user has got that object assigned to it. So enter is underscore user GRP, for example. So there are 3,439 users who have access to that object. Okay. So again, if you look at this, you have the name, the group, logged or not, validity period, and all that.
Who created this users?
These are all SAP's defaulted ones. Okay, so don't worry about that. Okay, so this you probably won't watch much. The most important option in this, in the user node, that I use a lot and you probably end up using is this option. Now, to get the right pieces of information from the SAP system, as far as authorizations are concerned, the right way to do it is to go at the object level and get that information out. Okay. Now, for what kind of situations could you use this option? One of the situations and one of the criteria for auditors is to find out, one of the checks that they make in the system, the auditors, is to find out how many users have the ability to create user IDs. So the creation of user IDs in a production environment has to be a security specific activity. Nobody else should have that kind of access. Right? Now creating a user ID, the transaction code is SU01, right? Now, but SU01 could be used for different purposes. Like you could have SU01, but you could only display it. You can't do anything else in SU01. You can have SU01, but you probably can only log and reset the passwords. You cannot create the user IDs. You understand? So many auditors sometimes come and check, who have access to SU01, and then they presume that all of them have access to creating user IDs. See, their report criteria is that how many people can create user IDs, and they come and check, okay, who has access to SU01, and they say, okay, 3,000 people have access to SU01. That is not correct.
But how many people can
So
create?
what you can do in a transaction code is controlled at object level, right? Objects control, authorization objects control what you can do within a transaction code. So you have to go at the object level and find out who has access to particular set of authorizations. Okay, so looking at the example of how many people have ability to create user IDs, what is the criteria? What will be the selection criteria? The selection criteria would be transaction code SU01. So you have to first find out how many people have access to SU01, right? So the transaction codes are stored in what object? In the system, when you create a role, the transaction codes are stored in S underscore T code. So let us give the criteria. You have it is looking for what is the option here? It is field name is authorization object. So you have to give the authorization object. Okay. So you go to S underscore T code. Hit the enter key. It will open up the fields that are under that object. Okay. SU01. Now, is it sufficient as per the criteria of who has the ability to create user ID? No, because like I said, in SU01 you can be limited to only resetting passwords. You could be limited only to do displaying user IDs, and for all those activities you need SU01. Just simply because you have SU01 doesn't mean you have the ability to create user IDs. So to find out who has the ability to create user IDs, you have to go one level deeper. So you have to go to the next level of the object. So the object that controls the creation of user IDs is S underscore user underscore GRP. Okay? So when you enter the object, when you hit the enter key, it will give you the fields within that object. Okay? Now activity for creating the value for that activity is 01. Okay? Now we are not talking about complete creation of the user IDs in the sense that they can create user IDs and assign roles also. Right? We are just saying options for creating user IDs, meaning that they can go to SU01, click on the create icon, enter the last name, first name, or what are the other information, not assigning roles and profiles.
Just create user ID.
Just enter the last name, first name and hit the save icon. For that much of activity you need this object with this value. So this criteria completes this combination of object values, completes the third condition, that who can create user IDs. Now if you want to say who can create user IDs with roles, okay, who can assign roles. Obviously if you have the ability to create user IDs, you should be authorized to assign roles also. So that is controlled by a combination of two more objects, actually three. S underscore user underscore AGR is one of them. See, you have the ability to only enter three objects, right? So you can give the combination of values for activity and give the role names. You usually allow the users to assign any kind of role, right? But roles also contain profile, right? When you assign the roles to the users, even the profiles are attached. So attachment of the profiles is controlled by the object S underscore user underscore PRO. So we don't have any more options to enter any more objects. So let's use this combination. Okay? And we'll see. Now before we do that, let's go and see what difference it makes if I just assign and execute with only S underscore T code. Okay? Let's see what is the number we get. Then we'll give that object criteria and then see if there is any difference in the number of people. So you have 3,407 users who have access to executing SU01. Okay. Now let's go and enter how many people can create user IDs. Okay. There was 3,400 something, right? See, you have 1,297 people who can create user IDs. 3,000 odd users can execute them, but out of which only 3,200 plus can create user IDs. Now this has to be, in an actual scenario, this should be a very minimum, okay? And let's see how many people can assign roles. Let's take, I think it's 22. So a little one user less, I guess.
That is the 97, this is 68.
Yeah, so there are a few more less.
Few more less.
Okay? You follow?
Yeah.
So any kind of object combinations that they give, you have to come to authorization values and give it. Okay, so let's, for example, let's take another example of okay, another example would be how many people can change table data. See, that is again an restricted access, right? S underscore SE16. Production system, they should not be have the user should not have the ability to change the data from the tables directly. See, SE16 you cannot avoid
Yeah.
many times. So if you when you give access to SE16, how do you know that people do not have access to change the data from the table? So you can also, let's say that combination would be people need to have access to S underscore T code with, let's say, either SE16 or SM30. These are the two transaction codes which you can use for accessing data from the tables. But the criteria is, audit criteria is the ability to change data. So the ability to change data in a table is controlled by S underscore Tableau underscore DIS. And the activity is 02 for change, create. Okay, so when you hit that combination, we'll see how many people we get, and after that we will also remove Tableau disk and see how many people have access to only to those transaction codes. So you have 3,293 people who have the ability to change the data from the tables. Now let's take this out and see how many people have ability to execute those two transaction codes. Not necessarily doing change, maybe display. So you have 3,400, which is more than what we saw before, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is one option. Okay, another reason why you could use this is, again, from audit standpoint. See, S underscore T code is an object, right? So like any other object, you can maintain the values in that object, which means you can go into the authorization tab of the role and edit the S underscore T code object and put some transaction code in it. See, by default, whatever gets into S underscore T code is what you enter in the menu tab of the role. Those come here. But you could go to S underscore T code directly and manually add some values, some transaction codes into that object, which means those transaction codes are not in the menu tab. So when you go to AGR underscore T codes, okay, to find out what transaction codes are in a role, it will only display the transaction codes which are part of the menu tab. It is not going to, the AGR underscore T codes table will not display what you have manually put in. So to find out what transaction codes are in a role, AGR underscore T codes will not be the right choice, because you have manually edited the S underscore T code object. Okay? So if you want the right pieces of information, then you have to go to the object level. So when you come and do this thing here, so using the S underscore T code object, S underscore T code option, it will pull out the right list, including the ones that you have added to s_t code manually. Okay, so this is one example I'm giving you. Okay, so if you want the right bottom line, the point I'm trying to make is, if you want the right information from the SAP system, you better do it at the object level. See, tables are fine, okay, but it doesn't mean that it gives you the right pieces of information.
Complete information.
It could be not that. Information may be right or may not be right. It's not guaranteed. But when you go to the object level, the information that you get out of the system is guaranteed. Is the right information. Understood? Now, by transaction start. Okay, this option, remember, is very important, okay? From audit standpoint, the authorization values. Okay? Then you have the transaction code. So if you go to SE01, now this will tell you how many people have ability to execute SE01. So you found this information also in the previous example by using the object itself. Now you're not using the object s_t code, you're using the transaction code directly. Now, if you want to get this piece of information using tables, if you want to find out how many people have access to execute SE01, you first have to find out how many rows contain SE01, which is AGR_T codes. Then using that list, you get into AGR_users, and that will give you the list of users. So which means those many people can execute the transaction. Understood?
Yeah. But what is this node? Under the user node?
Under the user by transaction authorization.
Okay.
Okay? Now, let's take a look at this option now. Whatever you can do in these nodes, okay, from this point on to this point on, you can do it from here also. This gives you everything. So give the transaction code here, the last option that we just saw,
Yeah.
it will give you that list. Right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, the first option that we saw was the user one, right?
Right.
So if you go to just give the user ID, so like that. So like for example now, same thing with here, if you give the user group, it will give you the list of users from that group, and you have those object level options that we saw. Okay, some of the additional criteria that you have is, for example, if you want to find out how many unlocked users are there in the system now, you select that and hit that execute icon. It will tell you how many users have been unlocked.
Okay.
Okay. Same thing if you want to find out, instead of unlocked user IDs, you want to find out the locked user IDs, which you can do using USR02 also. You can use to find how many logged user IDs are there.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
So you can either use these options specifically, or you could use this users by complex selection criteria. The choice is yours. But remember one thing, that the users by some complex selection criteria also has these two options. Okay, because sometimes the managers come and ask you, give me a list of user IDs that are locked. Or understand? Or maybe the basis team is trying to do something in the system, and let's say let's say they're doing a database kind of system refresh. Okay, meaning let's say from production system, they're getting the data out of the production system and putting it into the staging system.
Stage.
In the company, staging meaning the testing system. Now it is possible that in the testing system you may have certain user IDs that you have logged. So before they do the copy, you want to get that information out, that how many people have been logged, right? So that when the basis finishes its work, you can log those user IDs again. Okay? Now, so using this option or logged user ID options, you can find out how many users were logged, and you can log them up again after the work is done. Or you can go to USR02 and get the same list. The only thing in this thing is, again, when you do that, it gives you the name and all, the username. USR02 will not give you that. So the choice is yours, whether to use this, the option SUIM, this one, or USR02. Okay, done with this. So you either use any of this. Okay? Now, very important and very useful options we are going to look at now in this note. By critical combination of transactions authorizations at transaction start. Now, you have a tool called Versa, compliance calibrator, which we are going to see in another session for audit standpoint. Now, the base of that product that was developed was this option. So they used this feature, the concept of this feature in that tool, and we'll see how it's used. Now, what this feature does for you, the by critical combination authorization at transaction start, what it does is, and I'm not going to do anything here because it's going to take a lot of time to do it. We'll just say display. So what we are doing, we're displaying critical combinations. See, one of the main functionality as a security administrator that you have is to ensure that people do not get access to transactions which they are not supposed to get. Okay? Now, why would we be doing that, for example, is that FB60, for example, here can create invoices using FB60, and using F110 you can do the payment. So that's segregation of duties, So any company, if you want to secure your data, if you want to secure what is happening in the system, every employee's responsibilities have to be properly defined, right? So if a person can do a certain thing like creating invoices, legally speaking, he should not be able to pay for it also, right? So you understand? So when you do that segregation, you're protecting the system by means of you are stopping the ability for people to commit fraud, financial fraud, right? But how will you know that what people have got what combination of transaction codes, conflicting transaction codes, right? There is no way to do that. When you assign a role,
We don't know that.
we don't know who's getting what, in a way,
Yeah.
unless there's something documented.
Yeah.
Okay, you'll take care of there are 10 security administrators. Some people are very good at following the process really well. Some people who don't have experience, probably who are juniors or with less number of experience, if they'll say, okay, this guy wanted this role and I'm assigning this role. So, so in this example, let's take the user already has a FB60, and somebody if is not following the process properly, they can add F110 to that user ID. Give access to a role which contains F110 and assign it to that person. Now that person has FB60 as well as F110, which means he has the ability to commit the fraud. But how would somebody know that such a thing has happened? Right?
Yeah.
So from time to time, you will have to run reports to monitor the system. Who is assigning, who has got what kind of roles? Right? What kind of access? So what SAP has given this feature is for is you enter the combination of conflicting transaction codes here in this option by critical combination of transaction start. You enter when you go to change critical combination, you get into the change mode.
Okay.
But let's go to display mode. So I have, let's say I have entered these two, right? So you cannot create a vendor and then delete it yourself. Okay? So you enter all the combinations that you want here. Okay? Okay. Let's go to this feature. I said is being used by Versa, right? And they were going to see that tool, use that tool. And just see how I'll show you how it's used. So the transaction code is /n/Versa/ So go to execute and role architect. So you have this thing here. Not this ones. Maybe within functions you'll have probably. Now functions is a grouping of a function. Conflicting transaction codes. Now this is a report. Okay, here it works, the way it works is that you create functions. So technically speaking, what you could do is you can create a group of transaction codes which are related to invoices. Okay? That will be one function. Okay? So this we'll see. Don't worry about it now. We'll see in another session. And you can create another function with the collection of transaction codes which are related to payments. Okay? And then when you create the risks, what you do is you give the conflicting functions here. So function 1 conflicts with function 2 that we created here. Okay? And when you run this report here, it will tell you what all combinations are conflicting, what transactions are conflicting. So the SAP uses a different mechanism to do this. But bottom line is this: get this list. Okay? So when I do this combination, okay, so you enter the combinations of conflicting transaction codes
So
here.
you only enter that one here.
Yeah, we will enter, but who is going to give you this combination? Business.
Manager.
You have to talk to the business people, the functional people, to get this combination. Okay, you cannot decide on your own as a security administrator what transaction code conflicts with which one. Okay, you don't decide that. The business has to decide that. Okay, so once you enter the combinations, then you can run your report from here. So when you hit execute, So you have these many people who have access to these two transaction codes. Okay, and they belong to some
User
so and so
group.
user group. Now this guy also has access to these two transactions, but he belongs to some other group. So they have clubbed it by group.
Yeah, that's a
First by the combination, then by group. Okay, so you can find out. Now the Versa tool is very sophisticated, okay, in the sense that you get the same list there probably, but when you have options to, okay, you have the transaction conflict right now. Okay, Versa will also tell you from what roles is this conflict coming from.
Give the rules name to it.
So it will give you the role names. Then it can go to the object level also. So it's a very sophisticated tool. Here it's not that, this option is not that sophisticated. Right? It just gives you the user ID, but doesn't tell you from what roles is this combination happening. You understand?
What was the code?
We'll see that later, don't worry about it. For Versa, we'll see that later. Okay? Now, but this is fairly nice, to monitor who is getting what access in the system. This is fairly good. Okay? The only thing is you have to maintain that.
We use this lot too.
We don't. Users don't use it. I mean, the customers really don't use this that much.
Security.
No, if these tables are maintained, if these combinations are maintained, then yes, you could use it whenever you want.
Maybe.
But if this is not maintained, then what's the point? Understood? Now this is remember, this is at the critical combination level, at transaction level. Now having access to transaction code doesn't mean he has the ability to perform that particular function. You understand?
Yeah.
Because each transaction code will give access to multiple functions and multiple activities, right? So SAP gives you option for maintaining the critical combination of authorizations at object level. So you give the objects here, like s_t code is equal to SU01, and you have the AND and OR options here. If you scroll to the left, you have AND and OR. Right? So who has the ability to criteria is who has the ability to create user IDs. So your combination would be s_t code, field name, value SU01, then s_user_agr, field name, activity 02. Now not agr, sorry, s_user_grp. Okay, then you have two fields in that, right? So you have one field here, activity, so you have to enter another record, s_user_grp, user group, star. So that combination will become your criteria for creating user ID. No, not exactly this. This is for creating background jobs. This is okay. This option that I highlighted gives the ability to do background job administration. Okay? Understand? So remember this. We are giving the combination at the object level now. That was previously at the transaction code level. Now you are doing it at the object level. Okay? So you can go and check how many people have ability to perform those activities. Now this concept, Versa has also implemented it. So we go to Versa. somewhere in one of these options you can enter the object information combinations also along with the transaction codes. Okay, so let's get this list and then you'll see which users have access to what authorizations. Now, let me finish this. So, for example, now you see the users. This is grouped. This list is grouped by users now. So you have the users and the options for what are the conflicting functions the user has, depending on what you have entered in the table. So ABAA is the code for combination of authorizations for performing background jobs, administration of background jobs. So each combination has to be given a particular ID. Okay, so let's go back and look at it. It was ABAA. You're not able to see? Okay, so if you go to ABAA, that's only one, right? Now if you look at ABJA, so you got two records here, right? So this is deemed to be critical because you can release somebody else's background jobs also if you have the access to the transaction SM37. Okay, so that is considered to be critical. Now, for example, another critical option is performing systems administration functionalities. Remember the SM04 that we saw? So some of those things is the system administration functionality is controlled by the object is underscore ADM and underscore FCD. So according to this list, these values are critical to be considered to be critical. So this is network administration. For example, this is printing. Whether you can print to what kind print administration, like whether you can delete somebody's jobs or print jobs, or you can print somebody else's job, or you can view the data from somebody else's print job, is controlled by this object, this value for this object. Similarly, whether you can create printers or not in the system is controlled by this value. P-admin, you can delete somebody else's process in SM50. Okay, so like that. So depending on how many combinations you have, you'll have that many records in this list, and you have to basically give this, if it is the same functionality, in this case this is systems administration functionality, you give the same ID, okay, for each combination. Understood? So this list is object level, and this is also, for example, report. You can, if you run RSUSR R009, it brings up this table. Okay, so you don't have to necessarily go to SUIM to come here. You can directly execute. If you have access to SA38, you can run this report. Followed? RSUSR 009. Okay. Now this is at the object level. So if you click on execute again, it will tell you which users have got what combination of conflicting functionalities. Not at the transaction code level now. This is at the authorization level, authorizations level. Here it displays the list of combination. Now, what this ID contains, you'll have to go into the list and find out. Okay, if I want to find out what is ASPA mean, so I have to go into this and find out ASPA. So spool actions. Can delete.
So this ID is user ID is it?
No, this is the ID for this combination of values,
Acha.
not the user ID. This is the user ID. Okay? You got it. Follow?
Yeah.
So this IDs help you to understand or identify what is the conflicting function with what values. Follow? So this was the foundation for these two options. Like I said, by critical combination and critical authorization, these are the two options which were the foundation for Versa compliance calibrator to begin with when they started off. But then they made it very neat and sophisticated by adding a lot of features in it, their own features in it. But the foundation for that tool is these two options. Okay? Now let's go for a look at for this with unsuccessful logons. So this lists you how many times, for example, whether the user IDs are logged, when was the password change, when was the last time the user logged on. Okay? That kind of stuff. By logon date and password change. Same thing, like for example, if I go to, for example here, let's say what happens. It gives me that information about my ID, who created it, when was the last time the password was changed. Okay. Now if I don't give that list, give my name here, it is going to display the same piece of information that you saw before. You saw this option, right? Unsuccessful logons. You will get the same list here again when you do this. Okay? And plus it will give you the remaining pieces of information also. So if you want to find out people who have never changed their passwords, dialog users who have never changed their passwords, you created the user ID, right? See, this is also another kind of a report that you may have to generate from time to time for licensing issues. You don't want you don't want to create the user IDs and those people never use the system, because every ID that you create, SAP finds in the system is charged. So for the licensing purposes, at least, you don't want IDs which are not being used at all to be in the system. Okay, so how do you find that out? So I don't know if it has to be selected. So these many people never logged in. No, but this is not right, because it says last password was changed on so and so date. Okay, those users are not logged. So you created this user ID, but never used it, is it? Yes, you never used this user IDs. Okay, if I use, that's my ID here. It doesn't show up anything because I've logged in and changed my password. Understood? For example, again you can find out. You see the combination here. You can understand what they mean, by looking at them. Understood? So this is what you can do using the users node. You can find out whatever information you want about users.
Same way.
Users, okay? So in the next section we'll see combinations for roles, the options in the roles tab.
I think it's not